What's up, Met fans? Welcome back. Talking Mets at Rob. How's everybody doing? Thank you guys for tuning in for Mets Talk Live. We're going to talk about the Colorado Rockies series that just happened, and now the short series against the Atlanta Braves today and tomorrow. We're going to get right into it. We're going to get right into the pitching matchups, the lineups. What can we expect from this team going forward, since we know all these injuries might take longer than expected? We're getting our rotation back little by little, which is very important. And that's the most important thing at the moment right now, because these are the guys that are healthy. So I'm going to wait for a little bit of more people to come in, say what's up in the chat. How's everybody doing? RG, how you doing, buddy? The Cool Spin, what's up, buddy? That's right, RG. We took 3 or 4. Not bad at all. I take that every day of the week. With the lineup we've been throwing out over here, I can't complain. I cannot complain, fellas. Really can't complain. So before I get started, guys, don't forget, guys, thank you for tuning into the live stream. Hit on that like button. Hit on that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We're going to get right into it, starting with the pitching matchup for tonight. As you know, Taijuan Walker was supposed to pitch yesterday, but because of the rain delay, Taijuan Walker is pitching tonight versus Ian Anderson. Ian Anderson has been one of the best pitchers for the Atlanta Braves. And the Mets are going to have a tough test. And like I said, the lineup we're going to pull up in a little bit. The lineup came out about a half hour ago. We're going to go over the Mets lineup in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the Rockies series and what this team has shown with all the bench players, with all the minor leaguers. What I've known and what I've seen, and I think you guys can agree with it. Let me know in the chat what you think. Nelson, how you doing, buddy? And Joseph, I think, is here too, if I haven't seen already. I might have missed that. But what up, Joseph? Cool Spin, RG. Thank you guys for tuning in. So what we're looking at right now, with the Rocky series that we just saw, is that the Mets have to grind out runs, no matter how good the team is or how bad the team is. I think you guys can agree. This team has to grind out wins, no matter how they do it. Maybe it's a late clutch hit by Jose Peraza, which basically it was the last 2 games of the Rocky series. It was Peraza versus the Rockies. Peraza did everything. So it has to be moments like that. And the biggest impact that this team has had over the last 4 weeks has been the clutch hits by Nito, the clutch hits by Peraza, the solid defense that we've been seeing with this team that we weren't expecting. VR has been playing an excellent third base. Peraza, after his injury, he came back really quick. He performed well defensively and offensively. The big man in the lineup, Francisco Lindor, well, he's got to get going. We talked about this again and again over the last couple of weeks. He's the one that this Mets has to rely on to get those big at-bats. He hasn't been getting them. I mean, we've been seeing Nito, Peraza, VR, so on and so forth. And what the Rockies series have shown to all of us is that no matter if the Mets play the Braves, who are supposed to be a really good team, or the Rockies, who are one of the worst teams in the league, the Mets are going to have a hard time getting victories, no matter who they're playing. And they have to grind them out. If it's great defensive plays, if it's starting pitching, and we're going to go over that in a little bit as well. The Mets have to grind out these wins. And we all know from years past, the New York Mets in June, they're not best friends. And that's a problem. And somehow, some way, the Mets have to figure out a way to at least play 500 baseball in June. That might seem a little bit low and a little bit not a lot of positivity. Michael, how you doing, buddy? But what we have to think about is that with this depleted team, and we have to grind out win after win after win, and we can't just beat our way to a win with offense. We have to grind out wins, and we just have to figure out ways, especially in June, which has been the Mets' kryptonite. The New York Mets have to figure out a way to at least go 500 in June. Because what that does, that keeps us in the division. Maybe it will keep us in the division lead. We don't know. But at least we know at 500, you got to remember, the Phillies just lost again, as I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Nelson said it. I'm sorry. I'm looking. Somebody said it. I just read it. Oh, RG said it. So that's, the NL East is not playing well. These games against the Braves are important. Why? Because it's the division. Sorry about the delay, guys. I know it's a little slow right now, trying to get it backing up. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Just give me 1 second, guys. Can never make it up with this Wi-Fi, I tell you. No matter what I do. Just give me a second, guys. Give me 1 second. Oh, boy. All right, so give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about this. Oh, yeah. All right. Let me try to refresh it, guys. Just give me a second. I tell you, man, I have no luck with this. I tell you right now. Good days, I tell you right now, it's just terrible. All right, I'm going to refresh the page, guys. Just give me a second. I'm going to pull up the stream one more time. Just give me a second, guys. Yeah, everything's just blowing up on me right now. Fuck. All right, I think I'm back, kind of, maybe. Let's see. I'm so sorry, guys. This is what happens. Oh, I think I'm back. Hey, I'm back. All right, so good so far. All right, I might be dying out on you guys, but I'm sorry about that. Life in a nutshell, right? All right, just give me a second. See if I can get something going here. All right. Okay. So I might be a little blurry, but I'm moving now. So that's good. All right. So as we were saying, the Rockies got to grind out wins. What you guys been saying in the chat is that it's been the Peraza show lately. It's been, it's just been guys you're not expecting it. We need them. And there's no doubt about it. And you know what? Maybe my terrible stream and my shitty Wi-Fi bring Mets victories. I'll take that any day of the week. But yeah, you know what, Cool Spin? With this shitty weather in New York, because it feels like November outside with rain today. You don't want to push Walker. You want to keep him healthy. So maybe push him 5 innings. The bullpen's healthy. The bullpen's ready. The bullpen's rested. And it's the same thing. The bullpen's got to pick it up again. That's just how it is. But with all these rain delays and all these delays, the bullpen has been getting rest that they wouldn't have got otherwise. Remember, we talked about it the last time about the 17 games in 17 days. That's what the Mets have to rely on is, days like this. It sucks. We don't got great, weather, but it is what it is. So let me go over it real quick. I'll be with you guys until 6 o'clock tonight. As long as my Wi-Fi holds up, obviously 8 minutes in, it's been playing games with me. But again, it could be the weather because I tell you right now, the weather is it's like winter out there. So the wind's blowing, the rain's blowing. So who knows? But if the weather holds up, we will have a game today. It looks like that the rotation is getting back to normal, so to speak. I'm going to show it really quickly. DeGrom is pitching tomorrow. I know there was a little bit of a question mark because it was to be determined. Wiz, how you doing, buddy? It was to be determined. And now we know that DeGrom's pitching tomorrow and Peterson on Monday. So at least we know we got our guys back. They got to stay healthy, but we got our guys back. It would be nice to have 4 guys in our rotation who we have from day one back in this rotation. So I know you guys are curious about the lineup. If you haven't seen it yet, this is the lineup. VR is batting first, playing third. Lindor is shortstop, batting second. James McCann is consistently playing first base now, batting third. Dominic Smith in left field, batting fourth. Nito batting fifth, catching. McKinney, the newly acquired McKinney, playing right field, batting sixth. Jose Peraza batting seventh, playing second. Cameron Maybin playing center field, batting eighth. And then you got Taijuan Walker on the mound, bat in ninth. So again, this has been the lineup lately. Lindor hasn't been moving from that 2-hole. Smith has either been 4th or 5th lately, and everybody else has been mushed up in between. So this is what we have right now is the lineup. The lineup, look, they haven't been producing a lot of runs, but they have been producing enough runs to win games. Let me just check the comments really quick. There's a actual conversation on Luis Rojas. You know what, RG? Let me throw out that comment really quick so everybody can see. So, you know what? As much as probably all of us has talked about Luis Rojas with his in-game decisions, he's kept his team together. Some way, somehow, we kept it together. And he's done it. And you know what? Manager of the year, I wouldn't say no. There's probably a team out there that we're surprised about. Honestly, would you be surprised if Alex Cora wins the manager of the year? I mean, I know that's the American League, but it's kind of like Alex Cora is making the Red Sox play great, and nobody expected him to be anywhere near a division lead. So, you know what? Luis Rojas kept his team together. I can't complain. There's some in-game decisions where I want to wring his neck, but you know what? He's been making the right calls lately. Who expected McCann to play first base? That was unheard of. Rojas maybe seen him a couple times in spring training, maybe checked him out and be like, hey, can you play first base? And you know what? He was right, and probably all of us were wrong. And even McCann has starting to hit a little bit, so that's good. So this is your lineup for tonight, guys. It looks like that. Again, it's the typical people in the lineup as of lately, ever since the injuries, but this is what we got right now. So, Villar's been good. Lindor's been terrible. If Lindor ever starts hitting, this lineup can actually do some damage, at least enough. And Smith, the same thing. Smith's haven't been hitting home runs at all, but he's been getting on base a little bit too. So, Nito's been pretty hot. McKinney showed that he has power. He didn't hit a home run yet, but he looks like a player. He can be in a lineup every day. He's good defensively. Peraza, we know, basically won us both games at a doubleheader. So that's what we have to rely on. Maben can't, buy a hit, but he's solid defensively, and who knows, if he actually gets on base, he can probably steal a base. So this is the lineup that we're working with right now, and that's, it's been a winning formula somehow, some way. Check out your comment, guys. Jonathan, how you doing, buddy? Jonathan, the McKinney trade, you know what? It's a healthy body. You know what I'm saying? It's a healthy body. There's nothing else, I can't be mad about it because Scott and Alderson are trying to do everything they can to get bodies in here that can actually play and not get hurt. And, McKinney's shown that he can play defense. He can hold down right field. He can play multiple outfield positions. And, he hasn't looked great with the bat, but according to some people, he has power. So, and his team needs power. So, he got a hit the other day. So, it's not a bad pickup. We didn't give up nothing. We gave up a low-level minor leaguer. So that's about a cool spin. That's all they gave up. They didn't give up much. It was a low-level minor leaguer. The Brewers basically designated McKinney for assignment. He's batting 206 or 210 now. I think with his average go up a little bit. But again, it's a healthy body until somebody else comes back. Maybe Pilar is going to come back in about a week or two. That would be nice. So at least you get another guy who we expect to be in this lineup until, Conforto's not going to be back until the end of June. McNeil's not going to be back until the end of June. So we're going to be relying on the McKinneys, the Pilars, the Perazas of the world, and even the VRs of the world because we don't know when Davis is coming back either. Yeah, Jonathan, it's a mess. I mean, you know what? This is the first time the Mets had so many injuries and figured out ways to still win. It's been years. Even in 2016, DeGrom went down later in the year. He always had those injuries and he kept on, 2016, we figured it out. Syndergaard was ice at that moment, so it's kind of like, and even Harvey wasn't pitching great either, in 2016. So those injuries hurt us a lot too. And you remember James Loney came up with that trade also. And then look at that. I mean, it's a little bit of signs of shades of 2015, but we didn't have the injuries like we have now. I mean, I don't remember the last time we had injuries like this. Maybe 2017 when Senegal went down with that lat injury and he was out for the year. Stuff like that. But it's like, I mean, we have 16 players on the IL, and 6 of the 8 everyday players are out of the lineup. Only Lindor and Smith are the only ones left. So, I mean, you got to give credit to this team. They're 4 games over 500, 2.5 games in first place. It's insane. But you know what? We have a bunch of grinders on our bench in the minors, a bunch of grinders on this team. That this is what fans ask for. They play hard and give everything they got. I'm not sure what's going on with Lindor. I don't know if it's New York. I don't know if it's maybe he's really not that good and we just didn't see enough of him because he's played in Cleveland all these years. I don't know. But at the end of the day, can Lindor please break out of it? What is he going to complain about the cold weather tonight? Like, he hasn't been making excuses, which I guess I can give him credit for. But Lindor's got to get it going. I mean, the only way this team's going to stay above water in June, because June is our kryptonite. We all know that. I said that earlier in the stream. June is our kryptonite. I mean, we had Junes where we're 10, 11, 12 games under 500, and it buried us in the division. Then we had to fight back in the second half. This team needs to be at least 500 in June. Nelson, absolutely. Throw up that comment really quick. Penn and starters has been the same case. Absolutely. We haven't been scoring runs. We scored, 10 runs in the Rocky series in 4 games? I mean, that's not a recipe for winning games, but we took 3 out of 4. Now, granted, the Rockies suck. But look, even with the Rockies not being one of the worst teams in baseball, the Mets still had problems scoring runs. And they could have easily lost 3 out of 4. And they didn't. And you know what? That's kudos to all these guys who are playing as hard as they can, who never expected this type of playing time. Peraza, VR, Pilar, even though he's injured. McKinney's playing now. McCann's playing first base. I mean, RG, that's true, but you know what? It's not only about what we do either. You know what I'm saying? If this NL East continues to perform as badly as they've been performing throughout April and May, you got to remember, we're at 2.5 games in first place. That means the Braves and the Phillies have to play at least 2 games over 500 just to pass us in the division. And have they shown any signs of doing that? And let's be honest, the Braves, for the most part, are completely healthy. For the most part. And the Phillies, they lost Harper and everything like that. He's been in and out of the lineup. And then with the whole thing with Girardi and Segura, that teams look like they're unraveling. So, and I'm not worried about the Marlins and I'm not worried about the Nationals. So it's like, it does depend on what we do as buyers. But if the division is just as bad in June as they are in April and May, we're going to be buyers because we're going to be in the race. And no matter how bad we can be, that doesn't mean the Phillies and the Braves aren't going to be worse, if not the same. So it's like, at the end of the day, this Mets team at this moment, look, they've been buyers. I mean, all right, they haven't been getting like marquee guys, but they got Maben, they got McKinney. They're trying to get guys off the scrap heap just to, get these bodies in here. But again, we need the guys who are supposed to come back soon. Davis, Alonso, Pilar. We need those guys in the everyday lineup because with McNeil and Conforto, that's a lot of base hits and power that we're losing. And also good defense. Even though Peraza, I think, is a better defensive player than McNeil, you still miss McNeil's bat. You still miss Conforto's bat. Remember, Conforto was hot right before he got hurt. So I think that the Mets are going to be buyers because I don't see any of these teams running away to the division. You got to remember, the Mets are 2.5 games up. The Phillies and the Braves, well, I think the Phillies are 3 games now because they lost. But the Phillies and the Braves have to play 2 or 3 games over 500 in June to pass us. And that's if the Mets just be 500. If the Mets are any lower than 500, then the Braves will pass us. If the Mets are a little bit better than 500, the Mets might be in first place by the end of June. It's all good, Michael. It's all good. You got to eat. Michael with the trade already. Let's go. Oh, you know what? David Fientos. Hey, listen, I do that deal in a heartbeat. I don't know if a lot of people would. You know, a lot of people watched my video about Chris Bryant, and I appreciate the support on that and the comments on that as well. People don't people think that I'm being sarcastic or negative towards this Mets team, which I don't think I am. I just think I'm trying to explain the truth and tell them the truth. And some people think that it's impossible for the Cubs to trade Chris Bryant because they're only a game and a half out of first place. The Cubs are not stupid, okay? The Cubs know that Chris Bryant is not going to re-sign with them. And that probably goes for Javier Baez as well. Even though Baez is a better chance of them signing with the Cubs again than Bryant. The Cubs know this. The Chicago Cubs have no bullpen. They're starting pitching. They traded Yu Darvish away. So they clearly think that they weren't going to contend. And I still don't think that they think they're going to contend. The Chicago Cubs are going to trade Chris Bryant. I'm telling you this right now. There is no way they're going to let Chris Bryant walk at the end of the year without getting something from him. Maybe they'll do that with Baez because they think they have a better shot of signing Baez than they do Chris Bryant. And people are killing me on this, even on Twitter and even in the comments in the video I made with Chris Bryant. The Cubs are going to trade Chris Bryant. What I was suggesting and the scenario that I was making is that why not the Mets and Sandy Alderson and Zach Scott get out in front of the issue before other teams get involved and the price goes up and give them a very fair offer and see if they decline it. You know, the only person that I believe that is untouchable is Francisco Alvarez. Ronnie Mauricio is blocked by McNeil, blocked by Francisco Lindor, and at the moment, blocked by J.D. Davis. Yes, Mauricio is probably going to be a better player than J.D. Davis, but at the end of the day, when does it come a point in time when you worry about the team here and now? And I said this in the Chris Bryant video. You can't keep on wasting great years of Jacob deGrom. Because if you're going to worry about Vientos, Mauricio, Alvarez, who are 2-3 years away, when Jacob deGrom is 36, 37 years old, Jacob deGrom might be a solid pitcher because he's Jacob deGrom. But he probably won't be the elite, great pitcher, the best pitcher in baseball in 3 to 4 years. And then when these guys are up and you're winning 85 games with them when we have no pitching, then you're going to be like, oh, well, the Mets should have got pitching. Or the Mets should have, got players when Jacob deGrom was the best pitcher in baseball. You're wasting the years of Jacob deGrom. There's nobody that wants to face the Mets in the playoffs when it comes to Jacob deGrom. The way Marcus Stroman has been pitching, the way Tyrone Walker has been pitching. Nobody wants to face a 5-game series when Jacob deGrom is going to pitch twice in 5 games. Nobody wants that. And that's what I don't understand with a lot of people like, oh, how can we give up Mauricio? How can we give up Zappucki? How can we give up Beatty or Vientos? Because you're bringing in all-star. I'm not telling you, you're going to give up these top prospects for a guy who is not that good. Have you seen, Michael just said it in a comment, have you seen Bryant's numbers this year? He's leading the league. He's playing great. Batting over 300. I think he has 9 home runs, 8 or 9 home runs, and he has about 20, almost 30 RBIs. Where is that on the Mets team? Nowhere to be found. There comes a point in time when you make this deal, and I said it in the Bryant video. The Yankees did that with Aroldis Chapman. And then somebody in the comments says, well, Aroldis Chapman didn't do much for the Cubs. Sure, but they won the World Series, right? He was a part of that World Series team. Yes, he gave up that big home run to Cleveland, but He helped them in the playoffs. He helped them during the rest of the season. The Yankees got Gleyber Torres for Aroldis Chapman. And the reason why is because the Yankees knew the Cubs were desperate. They got destroyed in 2015 by the Mets in the NLCS. 2016 was the year for the Cubs. Everybody expected them to do very well. They had World Series aspirations. The Cubs were in a position where their fans were getting on them. We need to win. The Cubs said, we got to give up our best prospect. And that's what they did. They made the decision and got him a World Series. Now, obviously, Chapman wasn't the only one who helped them get that, but he was a part of it. Why wouldn't the Mets think about that when you know that the trade you make, anyone besides Alvarez, the trade should be made for Bryant? There should be a no coming from the Mets unless Alvarez is in that deal. And with Bryant, you're bringing in an all-star player. And, we have Steve Cohen now. There is no reason why Chris Bryant can't be signed by the Mets as well, if that's what it takes. But even if we don't sign Chris Bryant, we still have J.D. Davis if he's not in that deal. He might be, but if he's not in that deal, we still have J.D. Davis. So, we continue to worry about next year and next year and next year. Can we worry about the year that we're actually in first place, where we're trying to keep the division? That's a good one. Yeah, you know what? Yes, he gave up a huge home run. But at the end of the day, Lewis, how you doing? Thank you, Lewis. Look, I don't want to give everybody in our farm system to get Chris Bryant. But what you have to understand is that the Cubs are going to trade Chris Bryant. I'm telling you this right now. Unless the Cubs go on a crazy run and they're 5, 6, 7 games ahead in the division, maybe they'll go for it. But the bullpen of the Cubs is terrible. The starting pitches is not good. And let's be honest, the NL Central is not that good. So it might be fool's gold with the record of the Cubs. And let's be honest, the Cardinals are going to win that division. So, the Central, the Reds aren't really that good. Pittsburgh's terrible. So the Cubs are beating up on these teams as well. So at the end of the day, you go out and get your guy, especially with the problems we have. There's no guarantee that Davis is going to be healthy. What happens if he comes back and his hand is not the same? Nimmo, who the hell knows? I mean, he got a nerve issue that we know about. I mean, and, Michael, absolutely, I think that's a fair offer, to be honest with you. It's not too much. And at the end of the day, you're still going to keep Beatty, so there's our third baseman. You still probably have Mauricio, but honestly, Michael, I think Mauricio's got to be in that deal. And at the end of the day, people are going to go crazy about giving up Mauricio. But when Brian is smashing the ball over Citi Field and playing great defense, and here's another fact. Chris Bryant not only plays third base, he can play left field. He can play right field. He can play first base. So he's a versatile player as well. And honestly, no matter who comes back, if Alonso comes back, all right, you don't have to worry about Chris Bryant playing first base. Now you can play Chris Bryant at third base. Oh, wait, you know what? Smith's not hitting? Put him in left field. Wait, Conforto's not coming back until July? Put Chris Bryant in right field. He can play all those positions. So I don't understand the lack of commitment in so many Met fans about giving up these prospects. Look, we waited for years for certain players. I said it in a Chris Bryant video. I'm going to say it again. For years, all these writers are saying the Mets farm system is terrible. The Mets farm system is terrible. Have you seen the roster? Conforto, Nimmo, Dominic Smith, Pete Alonso, Tomas Nido. You want me to go further? Jacob deGrom. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of these guys came up from the minors through the Mets system. This is your core. This is the core that we talked about in the offseason. The Mets have a core now. Build around that core. Don't worry about 3 years down the road. And next year or the year after when Mauricio is expected to come up. Or Vientos. And that's if these guys perform in the minor leagues again and again. Mauricio is in high A. Alvarez is in high A now. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys are 2 years away. Alvarez maybe 3. You gotta find a way to win now. You got Jacob deGrom. Stop wasting him. Sorry about that rant, guys, but I'm just frustrated by the fact that people continue. I don't think some people want to win. I think a lot of Met fans like the misery of losing so they can complain. I'm complaining to try to win, not complain about who I'm going to have 3 years down the line. Let's be honest. We have Lindor for 10 more years. Alonso got a couple more years on his deal. McNeil got a couple of more years on his deal. Smith got a couple of more years on his deal. We just signed McCann for 4 years. He's not just a stopgap for Alvarez. He came in to be a great defensive catcher to work with this rotation and supposedly bring power. You know what I'm saying? We have Conforto. Looks like the Mets are going to try and do everything they can to sign Conforto. You know, you signed Taijuan Walker for 2 years. That should tell you everything you need to know. The Mets are probably going to try to go all out and try to sign Stroman. And you gave a 2-year deal to Taijuan Walker. So what does that tell you? What the Mets are trying to do? The Mets are trying to win in this 2-year window because that's what they think is the greatest years of deGrom is the next 2 to 3 years. That's when you have to go and win. And that's why I get frustrated because you guys can look at the comments in the Chris Bryant video. That's what it was. Why would we give up this guy? Why would we do that? That doesn't make sense. So you don't want an all-star third baseman who's a great offensive player, but you're willing to not help this team now who is in first place in the division, no matter if they're not good or not. They're in first place in the division. You wouldn't want to help this team? Give them some credit for doing so well and keeping this team afloat? It just doesn't make sense. It's like I truly feel that some Met fans want to lose. Deep down, they want to lose. They might not say it, but I feel like they want to lose because they need to complain. They need to go on WFAN and complain to Sal Licata or Evan Roberts or Craig Carton or Maggie and Moose or Boomer and Gio. You know what I'm saying? It's just insane to me. You know, I'm not saying that the Mets are going to do it. And Nelson said it about Michael said it about Sandy. I think Sandy's in a position right now where he might do more than you think. And the reason why is that I think his hands are a little bit more tied now because you do have Steve Cohen probably down his neck. Be like, I want this team to win. Do what you have to do. And, you know, if you want Mauricio so badly to stay, if Sandy wants him to stay, then you should have never traded for Lindor and still have Rosario and Jimenez. Let's be honest. Has that trade really been bad for the Mets? Yeah, Lindor hasn't been hitting, but Jimenez is in the minors and Rosario's playing center field who's not playing well. So, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Nelson, I that's what I said. Alvarez is untouchable. But in the offseason, there was other teams talking to the Cubs. If Sandy Alderson was so not worried about getting Chris Bryant, why didn't in the beginning of the offseason he talked to the Cubs? In late January, early February, right before Sandy made that deal for Lindor, they were talking to the Cubs the second time in the offseason. Because when Sandy Alderson wants a guy, he usually does it. And I trust Sandy Alderson when it comes to trades. Free agency is another story. But with trades, I trust him. And I think Sandy Alderson sees Chris Bryant as a plus, an A-plus type player where he might go a little above and beyond to get Chris Bryant. And I know Alvarez and Mauricio is Sandy's guy. But at the end of the day, Sandy has to realize that you're wasting years of Jacob deGrom. And that's what you have to do. You know, I just don't understand. Like, great, we're going to have Alvarez up. We're going to have Mauricio up. We're going to have Vientos up or Beatty up in 3 to 4 years. And great, we have a 37-year-old, 38-year-old Jacob deGrom. Great, Whippy. Jacob deGrom, because he's Jacob deGrom, probably still a solid. He'll probably pitch like Scherzer, be dominant in a way of a solid pitcher. Not great, but solid. So that means we have to depend on Alvarez being really good, the prospect we're expecting. Mauricio to be the prospect he's expecting. Vientos Abadi to be expected. Matthew Allen, who is going to have to come back from Tommy John surgery. We're all expecting him to be great or really good. Let's be honest. How many times has that really happened that all four of these guys are going to be guys who are going to be really good to great? What is it, like a 25% chance that one of them is going to be really good? Maybe two? We're in win now mode. Your core is McNeil, Alonso, Dominic Smith, Brandon Nimmo, Michael Conforto, right? That's our core. The minor league that we supposedly are not that good. But yet that core just came up a couple of years ago in total. So get the guy to add to this core. We're in win now mode. RG just said it. Win now mode. Jacob deGrom age is in win now mode. We probably had 3 great dominant Cy Young years of Jacob deGrom before he starts to decline a little bit. You know what I'm saying, guys? Like, it doesn't not make sense to me. And I think the Mets can get ahead of the other teams that are not pursuing Chris Bryant yet. And if you give a good enough offer, why wouldn't the Cubs think about it? Now, I'm not saying they're going to, they might have to negotiate a little bit and, go back and forth on players. But Sandy Olson set that groundwork in the offseason. They already talked players. So if they come up and start talking again, players have already been named. It's just a matter of getting the right deal done. And with the Carrasco situation that we don't know and the Syndergaard issue, there's no reason why Kyle Hendricks can't be in that deal either. So there's a lot of moving parts. But at the end of the day, guys, do you guys want to win? Because a lot of these people in my comments in that video with Chris Bryant, it seemed like, they're so worried about the prospects, but they didn't say one word about anything about this team now. So I just don't understand that. Like, as a fan, you want to win now. Yes, you want to start loving the prospects and loving Alvarez, loving Mauricio. But sometimes those prospects are someone a team might want. Alvarez is untouchable, but Mauricio. Maybe the Cubs are like, wow, you know what? Mauricio can come up next year and be out, or a year or two, and be out starting shortstop because we might lose Javi Baez. You guys got to think of that too, guys. The Cubs are looking at it, and maybe you want to throw Vientos in there or maybe a Davis in there. Because guess what? They might lose their starting third baseman and their starting shortstop after this year. Who are they replacing them with? You got to think of that too, guys. They might take that opportunity. And that's what I'm thinking. All right, guys, so we're going to get into the series about a little bit with the Braves. So I'm going to throw up the lineup one more time for the people who just showed up. That is your lineup for tonight, guys. Taijuan Walker is on the mound. And earlier today on the MLB app, it said to be determined for the pitcher tomorrow until recently, which Jacob deGrom is pitching tomorrow. I think the reason why it was to be determined is because I don't think they were 100% on pitching deGrom because of the weather. As of right now, guys, it's like 58 degrees here in New York, and it's raining. The game's going to get played because the rain is on and off. But I think they're worried about pitching deGrom and starting him, and then the rain comes, and then there's a delay, and then we lose deGrom for that start for another 5 days. I don't think they want to do that. But the weather looks like it's going to be good enough to play. So it's going to be Walker tonight, Jacob deGrom tomorrow for the finale of the series against the Braves, and Monday is going to be against David Peterson in Arizona. So that's what we're looking at for the next 3 days. Check out the comments really quick, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit on that like button, guys. If you're new to the channel, thank you for tuning in for Talking Mets with Rob. Hit on that subscribe button, everybody. And Nelson, let me throw out that comment really quick. You're 100% right on some Met fans, not all of us, in that they wanted Davis out, and now the same ones want him to come back. Like I said, look, it's not the point of we don't like Davis. We all like Davis. He's a little scary defensively, but we know he can hit. If he's healthy, he can hit. But you can't just want to keep Davis and not trade him or put him in a deal for Chris Bryant. It's odd. It's like, it does seem like seriously, if you guys have the time, look at the comments in the Chris Bryant video and even the potential outfield and trade video. People were saying, like, why would we trade for them? Why would we trade for this? Like, do you guys want to get better, or you just want this team to spiral out of control? And it's insane to me. It's like, I truly believe, especially reading the Chris Bryant comments from not all of them, but some of them that talked about, Mauricio's too good. Why people said was like, oh, why would you trade Alvarez? People didn't really listen to the video and watch it. I said Alvarez is untouchable. Mauricio is not. That's what I said. And I think more Met fans got to realize that the time to win is the next couple of years because of Jacob deGrom and his greatness that we're wasting. Jonathan, let me throw up this comment really quick. It's a good question. Do you think we need to trade for a starting pitcher with Noah's setback? Not if Taijuan Walker is healthy and okay, and Jacob deGrom is okay. I think we can rely on the 4 pitches and still get it done. Because we've been relying on Joey Lucchesi and Reed Foley and guys like that for the 5th spot. And, it might seem sooner or later as Thomas Sapucki might be up there as a 5th starter as well. So I don't think that right away, Jonathan, it's a necessity to go out and trade for a starting pitcher. Only because I think there's more glaring needs, and we talked about it. Starting pitchers. It's not an outfielder that can play every day who is solid. And also a third baseman or an infielder that we probably need. And I think Chris Bryant is that guy. But starting pitcher, I think is like 3rd out of the top 3. I think it's somebody like a Chris Bryant, number 1, and outfield number 2, and then starting pitching. If Taijuan Walker and Jacob deGrom seems to be healthy in this rotation, because we still got Stroman and Peterson, and that's 4 of the guys that we need. Cool Spin. Do you think it's possible to resign Stroman and Thor? If not, who would you resign and who would you let walk? So, Mike, how you doing, buddy? Norton, thank you for tuning in. So Stroman, I think the Mets are going to try to resign. I think they're really surprised at how really good Stroman has been. Now, I'm a little skeptical of Stroman because I think he's the type of guy who he gets his money and doesn't perform to the level that we expected him to. But Stroman showed me something this year, and this year he seems like more of a team player than he was last year. And, he's pitching for a contract. We all know that. And guys who pitch for contracts, and usually their contract year, they usually have great numbers. And then they decline. Billy, how you doing? So, I would think you would have to re-sign Stroman. Now, would that mean we might have to not re-sign Syndergaard? Yeah, but Stroman shows he can stay healthy. Syndergaard has not. Now, Syndergaard, you might get Syndergaard on a 1-year deal, like a prove me type of deal, because there's not a lot of teams that are going to give him multi-year deals coming off of Tommy John and then setbacks. So it's possible that the Mets can sign Stroman to people have been saying it in the comments, 5 years, $100 million, 25. That's pretty good. Or $20 million a year. That's pretty good. That might be a deal that can get it done with Stroman. Maybe we can entice Syndergaard to take a 1-year deal, maybe 1 year, $15 million as a show me deal. And he might take that because he might not get a multi-year deal because of the Tommy John surgery he has getting back from. And he might come back in September. There's not enough to show that he can actually stay healthy and get through Tommy John surgery. So there might be a lot of teams that might not take that risk. the Mets might take that risk, especially if it's only 1 year. And we do have Steve Cohen as our owner now, so money is not that much of an issue. But if I had to choose, I would choose Stroman if I had to choose one. Cool spin. So, well, Michael, it's not that we might not have to, but if the Cubs are smart, and I feel like their front office is not stupid, you would ask for Mauricio and either a third base prospect or JD Davis, only because you might lose your shortstop and third baseman after this year. So, with the deal that you gave me earlier, it's not a bad deal. But, Vientos and Davis are both third basemen, and Vientos might be up in a year or two. So, and Vientos has been playing well in the minors. So, I think they would want Mauricio with either JD Davis or Vientos. That's why I'm saying that, because they're going to need the replacement for Javi Baez and Chris Bryant. That's why I'm saying that. Even though your deal is good, but I think Mauricio would be in that deal. RG, man, I don't know. You know what? Walker's going to come back. We're going to see if he's healthy. If he's healthy, DeGrom is healthy. We got Peterson and Stroman in the rotation. I think we're okay. I don't think we have to do that, to be honest, RG. Nelson, absolutely. You have to give the get. And the Mets are in need, and you have to get it done sometimes. And it might take a tough decision, but at the end of the day, you want to win. And this team's in first place. This team has been grinding out wins. Bring support to this team. Show that you care, that you want to give something to this team, saying, guys, I respect the hell you guys staying in this as long as you have with all these injuries. Let me help you guys out with a trade like this. That's just my opinion. Michael says, how do we feel about Matt Allen? Well, unfortunately, with the Tommy John, that sucks. But I think he's going to be a good pitcher. I don't think he's going to be Matt Harvey coming up or Jacob deGrom coming up. But I think he could be a solid number 2 or 3. I think he's going to be okay. Let's see how he comes back from Tommy John. It's going to be next year in May or June. So we got to see with that. Billy, I'm doing good. Thank you for tuning in. I always appreciate that support. Hopefully we play some baseball with this terrible weather. But Billy, thank you for tuning in. I always appreciate it. And Mike says, I can't believe Lindor. I don't think any of us can, actually. If Fernando actually pops up on a stream every now and then, he hasn't in a while, he would probably be killing me for Lindor. And probably he's talking about Lindor like he's a piece of crap. He is a piece of crap right now. But yeah. Let me pull up this comment, Joseph, the bobblehead. So I think, Joseph, you remember, if you've seen, obviously you watched the video, the end of May. It's coming up in 2 days, the 31st. So I'm waiting for the last couple of people. So guys, if you don't know, if you haven't noticed, check out my video. It's the free bobblehead giveaway, the Jeff McNeil Flying Squirrel bobblehead. Check out that video. Find out how to enter to win. The last day is the 31st. If you're not entered to win by the 31st, you're not going to be in the running to win that bobblehead. And on June 1st and June 2nd, I will do the video with the wheel, just like I did with the jersey, to pick the winner of the bobblehead. So if you haven't seen the video, check out the bobblehead, the free bobblehead giveaway video, the Jeff McNeil Flying Squirrel bobblehead. It's a free giveaway for me hitting my subscriber mark. Check that out. Find out how to enter to win. You got to do 3 things. Check out that video and you'll enter to win, and I'll put you in the drawing. So if you haven't yet, check that out. You got 2 days left, guys. June 1st or June 2nd, I will be doing the drawing to tell you who wins, and you get the bobblehead. That's it. Thank you for letting me know, Joseph, to get that out there. Thank you. I don't know. I thought he was going to be coming back for this series. But you know what? James McCann has been playing pretty good at first. Obviously we want Pete Alonso's bat, but let's make sure that wrist is good, because as hard as Alonso swings, he can hurt himself again. So let's make sure that wrist is 100% and he's good to go. So I would take our time with him. It sucks that he's not in the lineup yet, but let's make sure he's healthy. The same reason why we put Walker on the 10-day IL, and the same reason why we put Jacob deGrom on the 10-day IL. You got to make sure these guys are healthy, because if you bring them back too soon, if they're day to day, you give him 2 days off, and then he pitches, or he comes in a lineup and he hurts himself again, it might be a month or two before they come back. So I'd rather make sure Alonso's 100% healthy before he comes back. Yeah, Mike, I hope he gets out of it soon too. This team needs him. He's stuck in that 2-hole. Where do you want to move him since all these guys are hurt? I would have moved him out of the 2-hole and just put him like fifth, like sixth. Maybe put Peraza at second, or maybe in second, or something like that, just to get the pressure off Lindor. Let him bat sixth in the middle of nowhere in the lineup. But Rojas doesn't seem to want to do that. Keeps him in the 2-hole. Let's hope he breaks out. We need him. I mean, it's just that simple. Michael, we're going to throw out that comment. They will be trying to trade him. They would take Vientos or Beatty because they need to get somewhere for exactly. Yeah, that's what you have. That's what I don't think a lot of people that are commenting on the videos and are complaining about the prospects giving up. You have to understand what the Cubs want back also. There's about an 80% chance they're losing Bryant and Baez at the end of the year. That's their starting shortstop and their starting third baseman, who, by the way, are all-stars, are superstars. They have to replace them. If you give them a prospect shortstop and a third baseman, even if it's Davis or one of the third base prospects that the Mets have, or Mauricio, and pick your third baseman, that's them filling their holes. And you know what? They might not get killed for trading Bryant if they get back these type of players that are expected to be pretty good in the majors, especially Mauricio. And Vientos, I think, is going to be solid. And Beatty, I think, is going to be really good as well. Or if Davis, he can start. So it's kind of what the Cubs need, and what would make them fans say, all right, look what we got back. We got their replacements. We might lose them at the end of the year. That's the problem. Michael or Newton. You know what? I even talked about him, I think, in the offseason when we were talking about trading for Chris Bryant and other players as well. Newton's another guy. He dropped out of the top 10, but he's a solid guy as well. There's a lot of guys that you can think of, but you have to look at what the Cubs, you got to remember, you got to entice the Cubs to trade Chris Bryant now. They don't want to trade Chris Bryant now. It's smarter for them to trade Chris Bryant during the deadline, because more teams would be involved. But you got to remember, Sandy Olson talked to the Cubs twice in the offseason about players. Who are those players? We don't know, because the players never came out. And you have to think of the fact that they talked about it. So there's some dialogue there. So if Sandy Olson comes back to them and say, listen, this is what we're willing to do. Maybe Mauricio was never in that deal. And maybe it was Vientos or Beatty or Davis or who knows who else. Maybe a Nimmo or something like that. But say if Mauricio wasn't in that deal and the Cubs are like, no, we have to have at least either your 1 or 2 top prospect, and the Mets didn't want to. Now, if Sandy comes back now and says, well, you know what? We'll put Mauricio in that deal. The Cubs might jump at that. You just don't know. And I'm sorry. I'm giving up Mauricio for Chris Bryant. You got to be crazy not to. Even if we don't sign Bryant can get us to the next level and even push us to get through June and July before these guys come back healthy. I don't want to give up Mauricio. I like Mauricio, but there comes a time when you got to go after it and win with Jacob deGrom being in his Cy Young years. Because when deGrom is 36, 37 years old, he's not a Cy Young Award pitcher anymore, and he might be a really solid to good pitcher, and we don't have the pitching to go at that offense that supposedly is supposed to be very good with Alvarez, Mauricio, Beatty, Vientos, and so on. Pete Crow Armstrong, we keep on going. We're going to score a lot of runs, but we're going to give up a lot of runs. So it's like, it's a give and take. You know, there was a lot of people that didn't want to give up Fulmer for Cespedes, but nobody gave a damn. You know why? Because the Mets needed that bat in the lineup in 2015. Fulmer was supposed to be the next big thing, like Harvey and like deGrom. Fulmer's been okay and been injured a lot. So during that time, it might have been, wow, we're giving up our top prospect pitcher. But nobody cared because the Mets needed the bat. And the Mets were in the midst of being in first place. 3 games behind Washington. We all remember that weekend. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. And trying to make some people understand that it's not that I want to give up Mauricio. But when you're giving up something of value, you're getting back an all-star type player. And let's be honest, Fulmer was a bigger prospect than Mauricio if you want to compare the two. And Chris Bryant is a way better player than Cespedes was in 2015. So if you really think about it, you're giving up less for Chris Bryant than you did for Cespedes at the time. Because Fulmer was our number 1 prospect. So you got to think of it that way too. You know what? They might actually pay a little bit of Bryant's salary also. But you got to remember, I don't know if they would pay 12, but even if they pay half, you're only paying $9 million for an all-star type caliber player who can play multiple positions on the field and be one of the best offensive players in this lineup. I wouldn't be surprised. And you know what? At the end of the day, who cares about the money? Michael, I understand where you're coming from, but who cares about the money? You think Cohen's going to worry about $18 million? He's not. RG, exactly. He had better numbers than Jacob deGrom and Matt Harvey Fulmer. And Sandy Alderson gave him up for Cespedes. And we all watched 5 Days in Flushing. We all did, right? Sandy Alderson did not want to give up Fulmer for Cespedes. And remember, Sandy Alderson did not want Cespedes. He wanted Jay Bruce. He wanted Justin Upton. Cespedes was his third option. And he still gave up our best pitching prospect for Cespedes. You know why? Because the Mets already had their rotation. They had Steven Matz. They had Syndergaard. They had Jacob deGrom. They had Matt Harvey. They had their rotation. So Fulmer was an afterthought for the most part because they knew they had these 4 guys who were supposed to be the 4 aces. With Mauricio, you just signed Lindor to a 10-year deal, knowing you had Mauricio in the minors. McNeil is still a part of this core. Right now, J.D. Davis is part of this core. But the 2 places where Mauricio can play, which is shortstop and second base, he's blocked by McNeil and Lindor. Now, some of you might think that Mauricio is better than McNeil, but we don't know that yet. And right now, he's blocked by McNeil and Lindor. And the Mets still haven't put Mauricio at third base. You would think if Mauricio was going to be a part of this team, he would be positioned and try to play third base. No, they have not moved him. He played second. He played short. They have not moved him to third base. What does that tell you? That tells you, Michael, Mauricio, we think he can play third, but he doesn't play third. They haven't put him there. That's the biggest thing that I'm trying to figure out. Like, wouldn't you want Mauricio to play third base, especially if he's untouchable, as some might think? If he's untouchable, why wouldn't you want him to play third base in the minors? So when you think he's ready to come up to the majors, you can put him at third base, right? But they're not doing that. there's no way you're gonna put a kid that plays short and second in the minors every day and bring him up to the majors because you think he's got a good bat and throw him at third base. That's a tough position to put a young player in. And that's not Sandy's way. And that's what I'm trying to say to you guys. You know, a lot of us, we don't want to give up Mauricio, but the anticipation and the shock value of getting Chris Bryant, you could give up Mauricio. You know, it might be tough in the beginning to give up, you know, the initial reaction, because there were some people who were like, damn, we gave up all our shortstops for Lindor for 1 year. Jimenez and Rosario. Some people didn't even like that trade. At the moment, some people didn't like that trade. Now people are probably laughing, but let's be honest. Jimenez is in the minors and Rosario is playing center field. Not very good. So, you know, there's sometimes you got to make a deal. I think this team is good enough to win a division and do damage in the playoffs. Because let's be honest, how many really good teams are in the National League? Not many. The Cardinals are okay. The Padres and the Dodgers are the cream of the crop of the NL. The Central is not that good. Obviously, the East is not that good. All we have to do is get to the playoffs. And I think that we can do damage in the playoffs. There's not a lot of good teams in the National League. Take advantage of that. And, you know, even right now, the Mets are probably the 5th best team in the National League with all these injuries still. So why not add to that? RG, good call. Yeah, we're going to look at, we didn't fade in May, but you know, RG, the biggest thing here is June. June is the month of horror for the Mets for so many years. The Mets need to at least play 500 ball in June. That will keep us afloat because there's no signs of the Braves or the Phillies getting so hot that they're just going to blow past everybody. So we just got to continue to win ball games, grind them out with this depleted team, and find a way to be 500 in June. I think that's the only way we can stay afloat in this division is to be 500 in June. Are we getting Seth Lugo? Seth Lugo should be back in 2 weeks. In all honesty, I think it was sometime in June they were talking about. I think I was watching Baseball Night in New York, and they were talking about it. I think he's coming back in a couple of weeks, so that would be a help to even a better help to the bullpen. And he's looked good in the minors too. He's looked healthy. He's pitched a little bit with Syracuse. He's looked good, so that's good. Randy, how you doing? Well, you see, and, you know, give a shout out to Randy. You know, he has his way too. Thanks, Randy. Yeah, see, okay, he's coming back Monday. Perfect. God, we can use him. See, Randy, I get what you're saying, and I appreciate your opinion. You know, it is your opinion, and hey, I appreciate it. But the biggest problem here is that people thought that we were going to regret Michael Fulmer when we traded him for Cespedes. And Fulmer was a better prospect than Mauricio was now. He was our top prospect, Michael Fulmer. And we traded him away for Cespedes. And even though nobody wants to trade Mauricio, but to get an all-star player now to help this team, I think you can do that. Because Mauricio is blocked by Jeff McNeil and Lindor. And some people say he can play third base. Fine. But why haven't the Mets put him at third base in the minors? That's my concern. If Mauricio is so untouchable, no, listen, absolutely. And Randy, I 100% agree with you. He looks way better. He you see, but this is where I come back at you, Randy, and you're absolutely right. It's true. He looks way better, but his ceiling. This is projection. This is what we think he can do. And to trade a guy who we might think is going to be really good for a guy who's an all-star caliber player in Bryant, it has to be a no-brainer. Because Mauricio is not helping us this year. He might not help us next year. We don't know. He's in high A ball now. Can he make that quick jump? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think he's going to be a solid player? Yes. But he also has not played third. Well, Kalenic is 100 times better than Mauricio. I think Kalenic's going to be an all-star. But let's be honest. Kalenic was traded for a steroid-using Cano and a closer. So that was just terrible. But you can't look at the Kalenic trade and Mauricio trade if it happens with Bryant. And the reason why I say that is because you were given Kalenic up, where you didn't have to. All you had to do was take the money of Cano and give up practically nothing, and that trade would have been a success no matter what Cano or Diaz did. But giving up Kalenic was just stupid for a 36-year-old Cano and a Diaz guy who's a closer only. So that wasn't smart. But you're giving a position player, Mauricio, for a potential great player in Bryant who can play multiple positions for a team that needs somebody who can play multiple positions and is really good offensively. He has great numbers this year, Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant's one of the best players in the league. You got to remember, he was hurt last year too, Randy. I understand what you're saying, but Chris Bryant changed his swing, and a lot of players don't do that. Chris Bryant realized in the offseason that his launch angle swing was way too much of an uppercut. He leveled out his swing a lot. If you look at his at-bats this year and look at last year, the difference in his swing is 100% different. He's swinging like he did in 2015 and 2016. And I think that's what you can get from him. And if you can get Chris Bryant for a Mauricio and, say, Davis or Vientos, something like that, and maybe a lower-level prospect, you have Cohen as your owner. He might sign Chris Bryant, but even if he doesn't, if Chris Bryant helps us get to the promised land and roll through the playoffs and somehow beat the Padres or the Dodgers or both and get to the World Series and win it, are you really going to worry about Mauricio? We're still going to be complaining about Kalenic before we complain about Mauricio. Well, I don't think we're going to have to give up all that, Randy, to be honest. I honestly think Mauricio, I don't think I would want to give up Beatty. I think Beatty's going to be very good. He seems like a big, strong power hitter who can play third very well. I like Vientos. I mean, he's been looking good in AAA. But I think that you just have to, when you have a championship pedigree player who made it to the NLCS in 2015, won the World Series in 2016. He had injuries in 2018, somewhat 2019. He had a really good 2019. 2020 is kind of iffy for all these players, and he's doing amazing things this year. You're getting Bryant in his prime years. And I don't see why the Mets couldn't sign Bryant if they make that trade. But I really think it's important that we don't waste years of Jacob deGrom. And we're going to continue to waste Jacob deGrom years if we don't get better. And if this team is healthy, do you think this team is a World Series contender with just this team right now? All healthy. With everybody healthy. I don't think they can pass San Diego or the Dodgers. They need that Chris Bryant to put him over the top. Or that Matt Chapman. Or whoever else you want to put on that top level. And that's what I'm thinking. You got to start winning with DeGrom because there's going to come a time when DeGrom starts to decline a little bit. And when he's 36, 37 years old, when Mauricio comes up in 2 years, or Beatty comes up, Matthew Allen comes up, and all that, Vientos comes up, whoever you want to put, Pete Crow Armstrong comes up in 2, 3, 4 years, we might have Jacob DeGrom pitching solid, but maybe not the Cy Young years that he's given us now. You can't waste those. And that's my problem. That's what I'm worried about. There's no guarantee that we're going to sign Syndergaard. We don't know what he's going to be after he comes back at some point. Who knows if Stroman's going to get re-signed? So you have Walker for another year after this year. Jacob DeGrom after next year can opt out, so you got to pay him. There's not that much of a rotation available either. So I think you really have to put into perspective how many years you think you have left until you have a championship team around you, around DeGrom. Maybe 2, 3 years. These guys are just going to come up. And Michael, yes, 5 Days in Flushing is one of my favorite little short stories, videos, and episodes, or little, I guess you want to call it, what do you want to call it? Quick movie? But yeah, that was pretty good. But yeah, Randy, I get what you're saying. Yeah, well, yeah, we got there, but we traded our best prospect to get Cespedes to put us over the top. And I think that's the same thing that we're going through now. I think we have a better team this year in 2020, 21 than we did in 15, but they still needed that person to get to the next level, and that was Cespedes. And you had to trade your best player, because your best prospect, to get him. And I think that's the same issue we're having now. Now, this time is different because the Mets are in first place. Remember, when the Mets got Cespedes, we were 3 games out of first place behind Washington. Now, we're trying to hold on to first place. Why not do everything you can to get that deal, minus Alvarez, to get Chris Bryant here? That's a Cespedes-type move to get us over the top and keep us there. No, Randy, I am seeing how good Mauricio is. But the same way you were talking about Fulmer and being better than DeGrom, better than Harvey, you have to make that deal sometimes. And you can't worry about 3 or 4 years down the road when you already have the core that you're willing to win with. You add to that team. You don't not add to that team because you're worrying about a prospect 2 or 3 years down the line who could be good. We don't know that. Kalanick was a no-brainer. We know he's going to be an all-star. Is Mauricio going to be an all-star? Possibly. He's not Kalanick, but we don't know about Mauricio yet. And I think the biggest sign that Mauricio is not untouchable is when the Mets made that deal from Francisco Lindor and signed Francisco Lindor. Because if Mauricio was untouchable, he'd be playing third base every day in the minor leagues. That's what I'm thinking. And I don't think Mauricio is untouchable anymore. And with Sandy Alderson, he's very meticulous in stuff like this. And I truly believe that Mauricio is not an untouchable player. Alvarez is. And Mauricio I'm telling you, is not untouchable. I don't think Sandy Alderson is not going to make a trade because of Mauricio, especially for a guy like Chris Bryant. Because it's clear that Sandy Alderson loves Chris Bryant. He talked to the Cubs twice in the offseason about him, including Kyle Kendricks at the time. So what I'm thinking is, if the Mets really thought, or if Sandy really thought that Mauricio was an untouchable prospect for this farm system, Mauricio would have started the year at third base, knowing that Sandy Alderson does not like J.D. Davis, because it's clear. Sandy Alderson did everything he can. He talked to Oakland about Chapman. He talked to the Reds about who the hell was it? Suarez. He's talked to about all these third basemen. So he clearly doesn't like J.D. Davis. If Mauricio was untouchable, Mauricio would have started the year at third base to get him experience at third base every day. but they're still not putting him at third base. That's why I think he's untouchable. He's not untouchable. Excuse me, he's not untouchable. So you have to look at the bigger picture when it comes to what Sandy Alderson is thinking. I might not be right. You might be right. If they win a World Series, I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. There's no guarantee that Mauricio can play third base. Okay, so Randy, if you're saying Beatty and Vientos is our third baseman for sure, okay, now Mauricio is 100% blocked. Beatty or Vientos is going to play third base. You got Lindor for the next 10 years. You got McNeil for the next couple of years. Where are you playing him? So you kind of answer your question in a weird way. You know what I'm saying, buddy? If Beatty and Vientos is going to be a third baseman, then Mauricio is completely blocked from the infield. So he's expendable. If somehow you're going to keep Beatty and Vientos and get rid of Mauricio to get Bryant, now I'm not saying to trade Mauricio for Chris Bryant for anybody else but Chris Bryant. Yeah, but here's the problem. They haven't done that. And that's why I'm trying to pull up the bigger picture with Mauricio. If he's so untouchable, you put him at third base. But guess what? Now he's blocked by Beatty and Vientos in the upper levels of the minors. You know what I'm saying? So if you put him in the outfield, put him there now. So in 2 years, when he's expected to come up, put him in the outfield now so he gets the experience. Don't play him at shortstop and then bring him up and throw him in center field. You know what I'm saying? So it's obvious to me that Sandy Alderson does not see Mauricio as an untouchable prospect anymore, even though he's really good. But Randy, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. Why haven't they moved him? They haven't moved him because I don't think that they think he's untouchable anymore. Not that they don't think he's a really good player, and he could help the Mets. But if he does not move him to third base or the outfield, then why do you have him for? Because right now he's blocked up by Lindor. He's blocked up by McNeil. If you want to put the positions he has played, you're not moving Mauricio to put McNeil on the bench. You're just not doing it. You're not moving Lindor anywhere. And then if you want to put him at third base, great. But do it now. But in the upper levels of the minors, you got Beatty and Vientos, who's in front of him. Now he's behind those two players, not including J.D. Davis at the major league level. And then if you really want him in the outfield, wouldn't you want to start him on that now and not do what you did to J.D. Davis or Dominic Smith? Oh, yeah, he's our first baseman. Great. And now, oh, Dom, play left field. You don't want to do that when you bring him up to the majors. You don't want to make him learn the outfield when you're expecting him to do big things, when you have championship aspirations for this team in the next 4-year window. That doesn't make sense. Championship teams don't say, okay, go play left field but you're an infielder your whole life. Doesn't make sense. That's not a championship mindset. That's a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates who says, well, we need an outfielder, but I know you're a third baseman, so go to the outfield. Well, Randy, that's why I'm thinking that Sandy Alderson I really think, is using Mauricio as a trade chip for somebody big. And I do think it's going to be Chris Bryant. I just feel that. If Davis comes back soon and doesn't play defense well and continues to, he might play well offensively, but continues to struggle defensively, don't be surprised. You're going to hear news of trade rumors about Chris Bryant to the Mets. I'm telling you. I had that feeling in the offseason that I'm surprised the Mets didn't make that move because clearly Sandy Alderson does not like J.D. Davis at third base. He talked to every team that had a third baseman in the offseason. Oakland with Chapman, Suarez with the Reds, Bryant with the Cubs. He does not like J.D. Davis at third base. So he sees J.D. Davis as an expendable piece. And I truly think that if the Mets were truly concerned about Mauricio being an untouchable player, he would be playing third base every day in the minor leagues. But he's not. You put him at shorts, keeping him at shortstop does absolutely nothing to progress his career. Because you got Lindor at short for the next 10 years. Putting him at second base every now and then. You still got McNeil for a couple of more years. Even though Mauricio might be projected to be way better than Jeff McNeil, you're not taking Jeff McNeil out of the lineup to put Mauricio in every day. You're just not doing it. You're not putting McNeil on the bench. They're not going to do that. And if Mauricio is an untouchable player, you put him at third base now, let him learn the position, let him get comfortable in the position. So when he does come up, you have your third baseman. But like we were talking about, you still got Vientos, you still got Beatty. How many more third basemen are you going to have in this minor league system that are basically in the range of 2 to 3 years are going to projected to be up? And to be honest, I think Vientos can be up next year. So you're already blocking Mauricio, put him at third base also. So if it's the Mets not thinking ahead, as Randy called it, or the Mets see Mauricio as a piece for a trade package, putting him as the major piece in a trade for a big-time bat as a Chris Bryant or somebody of that caliber. That's what I'm trying to think of now, because it makes no sense if you're not going to use Mauricio at third base. He is basically in no man's land when you put him at Well, see, at the time, I think Cleveland saw Jimenez and Rosario as guys who can be up and be a part of the Major League roster this year. That's why I think Cleveland did that deal. And Mauricio still had 2 years, possibly 3, to come up in the majors. I think they wanted Major League talent now, and Jimenez Rosario was Major League talent now. But look, Jimenez is in the minors, Rosario is in center field for Cleveland. So that's why I think they did that deal. And I don't think you give up Mauricio when you had the possibility of getting Lindor as your everyday shortstop. You know you had McNeil. So Jimenez and you know you had Davis. So Jimenez and Rosario were basically expendable at that point. Yep, I'm about to leave now. It's too soon. So cool spin. Thank you for tuning in, buddy. So that's what I'm trying to yeah, they asked about Mauricio, but I don't think the Mets were willing to do that, only because at the time, the Mets thought that Mauricio was probably going to play above and beyond better than Rosario and Jimenez, and Mauricio was going to be the shortstop. And I remember, the Mets were thinking about who do we have in our roster now, not Lindor. You know what I'm saying? And I think they knew that Mauricio is better than Rosario and Jimenez. And that's why they didn't want to trade Mauricio, because at the time they didn't have Lindor yet. They were potentially getting Lindor. But now with Lindor here for a long period of time, it shows that the Mets are willing to do more and potentially put Mauricio in a trade if it makes sense for this team, this Major League team now. So maybe they will, since they moved him to high A Brooklyn, maybe they will move Mauricio to third base, and that's telling. But you also have Beatty and Mauricio ahead of him. So it's kind of blocking him again. You know, it's unfortunate, but it's not a bad problem to have, because now you have trade pieces you can use to get the big-time bat you need in this lineup for this Major League team. Yeah, you know, hey, look, we all like him. You know what I'm saying? We all like him. But there comes a point in time when you have to make a tough decision. And if you really look at the bigger picture, Mauricio is blocked at every position in the infield that he can play. And at that moment, you have to realize that the team that could use him the most is the Chicago Cubs, because they're losing their third baseman and their shortstop at the end of this year. They want a player that can come in a year maybe next year, possibly the year after, to fill that spot. So, guys, let me do a rewind really quick before I leave. This was a great actual stream. This is excellent today. We really got in depth, not just about the series, but about the minor league prospects, about trade scenarios and everything like that. It was great. So, guys, let me just pull up the lineup really quick for you guys. This is the lineup for tonight. VR playing third, batting first. Francisco Lindor batting second, shortstop. James McCann playing first, batting third. Cleanup is Dominic Smith playing left field. Thomas Nido catching fifth. McKinney right field batting sixth. Jose Peraza batting seventh, playing second. Cameron Maybin playing center field batting eighth. And Taijuan Walker is on the mound tonight, batting ninth and pitching. So that is your lineup for tonight. That is your pitching matchup, Ian Anderson versus Taijuan Walker. Guys, I really appreciate this stream. This is one of the better ones. Nick, what's up? Oh, Nick, that's a good point. I did see somebody put the video up about Buxton. I don't know because I think the Twins still feel like they're in it. Maybe during the deadline. But Pico Armstrong is hurt now, so I don't know if the Twins would go for that right away, but it's possible. Buxton would be a great addition. But it's not going to be cheap, I'll tell you that. But Nick, that's a good point. Buxton, it's a good idea, but it's going to cost you. I don't know if the Mets are going to – it might cost more to get Buxton because he has more years on his contract. It might cost them more than actually acquiring Chris Bryant. So, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this stream, you're watching this later, hit on that like button. If you're new to the channel, thank you guys so much for the support. Hit on that subscribe button, everybody. And I got to say one more thing, guys. I want to thank all you guys for the support. By Monday, I will be officially over the 4,000 watch hours. So that's one step closer to getting monetized. And that means more things can happen to this channel. Big things can happen to this channel. So I always want to thank you guys for the support. Still got to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. I'm close. I'm about 118 subscribers away. So if you know people, send them to the channel. Watch my videos. Let them subscribe. I really appreciate the support, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching. Nick, Randy, Coolspin, everybody was on the channel. Nelson, Joseph, Jonathan, all you guys. Thank you guys for your support. Don't forget, guys, watch that free bobblehead giveaway. Jeff McNeil Flying Squirrel bobblehead giveaway. If you want to get that chance to win it, check out that video. Find out how to enter. You got 2 days left until the entry is over. I want to thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button, everybody. Enjoy the game tonight. Let's get that W against the Braves. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, let's go Mets. Have a good day, guys. Have a good night. Let's go Mets.